I didn't watch this show until Friday. And so I got a ton of tweets from people after it aired, just absolutely tearing the main event to shreds. Some even called it the worst match they had ever seen. Having watched it, it was not the worst match I've ever seen, not even close. In fact, toward the end, it had some great crowd heat. You know, the crowd was really behind AJ Styles. And therein lies the problem. If AJ really is gone from the company, and I believe he is, at least for now, I believe he is, then this was about the stupidest fucking finish you could have come up with. I mean, a chimpanzee with attention deficit disorder could have come up with a better finish. Every heel in the company interfered in this match. It was an overbooked mess. Absolutely, it was an overbooked mess. But they were telling a story here, that being that Dixie hates AJ, and she was prepared to do everything in her power to make sure that he didn't leave with her title. EC3 and Spud ran in and jumped AJ, but he fought them off. Sting ran down for the assist. Then the bromans with DJ Zema Ion came out to interfere. Styles kept kicking out of every near fall. He would get his ass kicked, and he would kick out. Kaz and Daniels ran in to attack Styles. Magnus again tried for a cover, but AJ kicked out. Earl Hebner was more and more reluctant to count each time, even though this was a no DQ match. You know, because I guess Earl Hebner has integrity. He would never want to screw anybody over or anything like that. Finally, he could take no more. He left the ring. He even decked Rockstar Spud on his way out. Dixie walked out with Earl's son Brian to take over for his dad. Sting gave the bromans a double death drop out on the floor, which actually looked cool, which just reinforces my earlier statement about him just sticking with that as his finish. Sting then helped AJ fight off Bad Influence in the ring. Styles put Magnus into Calf Killer. Looked like he was about to tap. Kazarian, though, knocked out the referee before he could. Styles cleared out Bad Influence, gave Magnus the Styles Clash, but there was no referee. So back out came Earl Hebner to count the fall, but he got yanked out of the ring by Daniels before the 3 count. Crowd was going nuts at this point. Crowd seemed to be into it. Bobby Roode finally came down. He put the nail in the coffin, laying out AJ Styles with not 1, not 2, but 3 TKOs. Dixie called out referee Brian Stifler to count the fall as Magnus covered Styles. And Magnus is your undisputed, they said, TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Hell of a way to crown an undisputed champion. Makes me appreciate that finish that WWE gave us at TLC even more. At least Orton beat Cena clean to win both belts. Orton came out of that looking somewhat strong. Magnus came out of this looking like a chump. You'd think with AJ on his way out, they could have at least given Magnus some credibility. A little bit of cred at AJ's expense. I understand that Magnus is a heel. He's a bad guy. He takes shortcuts. I get that. But nobody buys Magnus as a world champion. I like that they're giving him the ball to run with. I was in favor of the decision. But this doesn't exactly help his cause. All the heat is on Dixie. There is no heat on Magnus at all. It's all on her. She is in almost every fucking segment on the show. And the show ends with her master plan to screw AJ over for the belt. It wasn't some diabolical plan that Magnus masterminded. He's just another guy. He needs all the help he can get right now. And this finish does nothing to help him. And as Matt DiNapoli pointed out on our Facebook group page, in the last few months, these are the men that Magnus has been given wins over. Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, Sting, Jeff Hardy, and now AJ Styles. He has beaten every big name in the company. And yet, what does it all mean? He doesn't feel any more special. People should be able to look at this guy right now and say, man, I hate that guy Magnus. He turned his back on the fans. He's a prick. But damn, he's beaten Sting. He's beaten all of these guys. He's earned it. He deserves to be in that upper echelon of guys in TNA. This guy's the real deal. Instead, he's a chump, and nobody takes him seriously as the champion. Certainly not after that clusterfuck we got on Thursday. The only thing missing from that main event was Paul Bearer and AJ Styles being resurrected and raised to the ceiling when it was over. It was Royal Rumble 94 all over again. The Undertaker-Yokozuna casket match. Every heel in the company ran out to beat The Undertaker. It took 10 men to put him down. It took a little less than 10 to put AJ Styles down, but boy, he came out of this looking like Superman. And he doesn't even have a contract. He's booked up at Ring of Honor TV tapings for the next few months. Now, maybe he and TNA reach a deal at some point, and he comes back in March or April. Maybe he does. But I believe him when he says he's not signed to a deal right now. And if that's the case, this booking is just baffling to me. Now, the other thing is that they've done nothing to set up who the next big babyface challenger is going to be. I would guess Samoa Joe, because after him, the pickings are slim. Jeff Hardy is out until March, and he already wrestled for the title, and he lost. Hardy is played out. Anderson is busy with Bully, and shouldn't be wrestling for the title anyway. Sting and Kurt Angle are not the answer. They've buried James Storm. Gunner has the briefcase for now, unless he loses it to Storm, but Gunner's got the briefcase. It belongs to him, and Gunner is at least somebody new, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't think a Gunner-Magnus feud is going to do much good for TNA. In my opinion, the two guys they should be building around are Samoa Joe and Austin Aries. Through everything TNA has done to these two guys, the crowds are still hot for them. They can carry things in the ring. They're good on the mic. Joe especially of late. He's been great. Aries wasn't even on the show this week. Now's their chance to right the ship with Samoa Joe. They've done themselves a disservice by burying this guy in the mid-card for the last 5 years. At one time, he was the hottest babyface they had. He was the guy they could have built around. He actually sold a ton of pay-per-views with Kurt Angle, and then they killed him for reasons that still have not been explained to me. Build up Joe, build up Aries as challengers to Magnus. I like Bobby Roode as a heel. I wouldn't turn him, so I don't think him against Magnus works right now. But keep Roode in that mix too, though, somewhere, because he's too good for that company to be doing anything less with him. But these are the things, constructive criticism on my part, these are the things that they should be doing. Those are the guys that they should be building around. And they should be doing everything in their power to build Magnus up as much as they can. He can be a prick, he can be a heel, that's fine. But he's what, 27 years old, 28? He signed a 5-year contract not too long ago with TNA. He's locked in. He's loyal. He's dedicated. Okay, you can build around him. People already have a hard enough time buying into this guy as champion. I applauded the move, and I had people emailing me saying, oh, Magnus is the TNA champion. What a joke. You know what? They're right. They have every right to believe that, because TNA has done nothing to convince them otherwise. You can put him over on Sting and Hardy and all these different guys. And the win over Sting back at Bound for Glory was a clean win. The win over Hardy wasn't, but the win over Sting was. And it's like when Bryan beat Cena at SummerSlam. Big win, right? Not too many people get to beat John Cena clean in the middle of the ring with their finish. And what did it really amount to, given where he is now? They squandered that win. And TNA, on a much smaller level, you can say, kind of did the same thing when he beat Sting. But they're doing this guy no favors. And it's funny to me that when I make comments like this, or I go off on TNA, all the TNA diehards, all their undies just get rolled up in a bunch. They get so offended when you say the slightest thing wrong about TNA. The TNA diehard fans, you know what they remind me of? They're like Officer Bar Brady from South Park. Like there's nothing wrong. Everything is fine. Nothing to see here, people. Move along. Everything is cool in TNA. They got no problems. They're just blown up by the internet. No, TNA has a lot of problems. They got a lot of financial problems. They got a lot of different problems. The booking should not have to be one of them. The one thing they could at least get right. A lot of guys went away. Now they're focusing on the younger guys, the cheaper guys, let's be honest. They can put them in a position where people will start to take them seriously as bigger names. And who knows, maybe 6 months from now, a year from now, if TNA survives and they're still around, maybe when people look at a guy like Magnus, he'll be looked at as a legit main event guy. And maybe by then, if they get their house in order, maybe they can bring a big name in, or they can build up some other young guys, and all of a sudden you've got a nice, robust main event scene, which is not what they have right now. There are not a lot of guys left in TNA for this guy to go up against when you take Joe and Aries out of the equation. And I just don't see what's accomplished by building everything around Dixie. Dixie is not wrestling. Dixie is not the champion. She may as well be. You may as well give her the belt. Magnus is the one who has to go in there and be taken seriously by people. Magnus is the one that people should want to see wrestle. There should be something about this guy that makes people want to see him get in the ring and either get his ass kicked or kick other people's asses. And Magnus doesn't have that right now. So I don't see what's accomplished by putting all the heat on her and none of it on him, which is exactly what happened on this show. You had AJ in that promo earlier, part of the storyline, right, calling Magnus Dixie's lapdog. They got the crowd chanting, "Oh, Dixie's lapdog." That was the big crowd chant. And I thought, foolish of me to think, that what would end up happening when this match was over is that Magnus, on some level, would prove that that was not the case. He would actually stand up for himself. He would come out looking tougher. And instead, he came out looking like a loser. And that's something they're going to have to change going forward. And call it constructive criticism, call it whatever you want to. Yeah, that's something they're going to have to fix going forward if they want people to take this guy seriously.